My name is Kate. I woke up with a gasp, my heart pounding in my chest. I looked around, trying to make sense of my surroundings. I was in a dark, damp room, the walls covered in peeling wallpaper and the air thick with the smell of decay. I tried to remember how I got here, but my mind was foggy. All I could remember was a blinding light and a deafening noise before everything went black. I struggled to my feet, my head throbbing with pain. That's when I noticed the cycle. It was a strange phenomenon that had been happening for the past few weeks. Every time I died, I woke up in a different place, but always in the same room. It was like some twisted game, and I was the unwilling player. I had no idea why this was happening or who was behind it. All I knew was that I needed to find a way out and stay alive. I searched the room, hoping to find some clue or a way out, but there was nothing. No windows, no doors, nothing but the peeling wallpaper and the musty smell. I sat down on the dusty floor, my head in my hands. I didn't know how much longer I could take this. The constant fear of death, the confusion of waking up in a different place every time. It was all too much. But I couldn't give up. I had to keep going, keep searching for a way out. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. That's when I heard a noise coming from the wall. I stood up and pressed my ear against the wall, trying to make out the sound. It was faint, but it sounded like someone was digging. I banged on the wall, hoping the noise would stop, but it only got louder. I took a step back and looked around the room, searching for something to break the wall. That's when I saw a loose brick in the corner. I ran over and grabbed it, using all my strength to pry it out of the wall. As soon as the brick came loose, the digging stopped. I cautiously peered through the hole, and my heart skipped a beat when I saw a pair of eyes staring back at me. I let out a sigh of relief when I realized it was just a dog. The dog barked at me, wagging its tail as if it was happy to see me. I couldn't believe it. A dog had been digging through the wall to get to me. I reached through the hole and scratched its head, grateful for the company. I looked around the room again, trying to find a way to escape. That's when I noticed a small keyhole on the wall next to the hole the dog had made. I quickly reached into my pocket and pulled out a lockpick. It was a skill I had learned to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. I carefully inserted the lockpick into the keyhole and twisted it, and to my surprise, the wall swung open, revealing a secret passage. I wasted no time and crawled through the passage, the dog following closely behind me. The passage led to a small room, and in the corner, I saw a figure huddled on the floor. As I got closer, I saw that it was another person, a woman. She looked up at me with wide eyes, and I could see the fear and confusion in them. I helped her to her feet, and we introduced ourselves. Her name was Sarah, and she had been trapped in this room for days. We both realized that we were part of this twisted game, and we needed to find a way out together. We searched the room and found a door that led to a staircase. We cautiously made our way up the stairs, not knowing what to expect. When we reached the top, we found ourselves in a large, abandoned building. We explored the building, searching for an exit, but it seemed like there was no way out. That's when we heard a voice over the intercom. It was a man's voice, and he said, "Welcome, players. You have been chosen to participate in a game of survival. The last one standing will be rewarded with their freedom." Sarah and I looked at each other, realizing that this was some sick game someone was playing with us. We had to work together to survive, to find a way out of this nightmare. We fought our way through the building, facing challenges and obstacles at every turn. But we never gave up. We knew that if we stuck together, we could make it out alive. And after what felt like an eternity, we finally found the exit. We burst out of the building, the sun blinding us after being trapped in darkness for so long. We looked at each other, exhausted but relieved. We had made it out alive. The cycle had finally been broken, and we were free. From that day on, Sarah and I became partners, helping each other survive in this harsh and unforgiving world. And every time we faced a new challenge, we knew that as long as we had each other, we could overcome anything. My name is Sarah, and this is my story. The world as I knew it was gone. The streets were filled with the walking dead, and the living were no better. The zombie apocalypse had taken over, and chaos reigned supreme. It was every person for themselves, and I had learned that the hard way. I used to live in a small town called Oakwood. It was a quaint little place where everyone knew each other and life was simple. But when the outbreak happened, everything changed. I remember the day it all started like it was yesterday. I was walking to the local grocery store to pick up some supplies when I saw my first zombie. It was a woman, or at least it used to be. Its skin was pale and decaying, its eyes were lifeless, and its mouth was dripping with blood. I froze in fear, not knowing what to do. But before I could even think, it lunged at me. I ran as fast as I could, not looking back until I was safe inside the store. From then on, my life was a constant battle for survival. I learned how to defend myself, how to scavenge for supplies, and how to outsmart both the zombies and the living. The town of Oakwood became a war zone. Buildings were destroyed, cars were overturned, and the streets were littered with debris. The once peaceful community had turned into a nightmare. And I was caught in the middle of it all. But even in the midst of all the chaos, I refused to give up hope. I knew that there had to be other survivors out there, and I was determined to find them. So, I spent my days exploring the town, looking for any signs of life. One day, I stumbled upon a group of survivors holed up in an abandoned warehouse. They were a ragtag bunch, but they welcomed me with open arms. We banded together, fighting off zombies and fending off other hostile survivors. For a while, we managed to hold our ground. But one night, we were attacked by a large group of zombies. We fought with everything we had, but in the end, we were outnumbered. The warehouse was overrun, and we were forced to flee. I ran as fast as I could, not knowing where I was going. My heart was pounding, and my lungs were burning. But I refused to give up. I had come too far to let the zombies take me down. As I ran, I could hear the sounds of destruction behind me. The warehouse was being torn apart, and I knew that there was no going back. I had to keep moving forward. I eventually stumbled upon a small group of survivors who had managed to secure a small fortress in the middle of the town. They were wary of me at first, but after hearing my story, they welcomed me into their community. We worked together to fortify the fortress, making it as secure as possible. We also sent out scouting parties to gather supplies and look for other survivors. It wasn't easy, but we were determined to survive. But then, one day, disaster struck. A large group of zombies broke through our defenses, overwhelming us with their sheer numbers. We fought as best as we could, but it was no use. The fortress was breached, and chaos ensued. I knew that I had to get out of there, or I would end up like the others. So, I ran. I ran as fast as I could, dodging zombies and debris as I made my way out of the town. As I ran, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. This was the town I had grown up in, the town where I had lived my whole life. And now, it was nothing but a pile of rubble and destruction. But I couldn't dwell on that. I had to keep moving if I wanted to survive. And so, I ran until I couldn't run anymore. I eventually found a new group of survivors, and together, we continued to fight for our lives in this new, chaotic world. The zombie apocalypse may have destroyed my town, but it couldn't destroy my spirit. I will continue to survive, no matter what challenges may come my way. This is my story, and I will make sure it has a happy ending. My name is Jack, and I've been surviving in this zombie-infested world for as long as I can remember. It all started when the crystals appeared. No one knows where they came from, but they seem to have some sort of connection to the zombies. The crystals grow out of their bodies, giving them unnatural strength and agility. It's almost like they're not even human anymore. I've been on my own for a while now, ever since my group was ambushed by a horde of crystal zombies. It was a bloodbath, and I was the only one who made it out alive. Since then, I've been wandering from place to place, scavenging for supplies and trying to stay alive. The world has become a desolate wasteland, with abandoned cities and towns littered with the remains of those who weren't lucky enough to escape. The sound of moaning zombies echoes through the streets, a constant reminder of the danger that lurks around every corner. But even in this world of chaos, there are still pockets of humanity. Groups of survivors who have banded together for safety and support. I've encountered a few of these groups in my travels, but I've never stayed with them for long. It's hard to trust anyone in a world where survival is the top priority. One day, I stumbled upon a small town that seemed untouched by the crystal zombies. It was a rare sight to see, and I cautiously made my way towards it. As I got closer, I saw people moving about, going about their daily lives. I couldn't believe it. How were they able to survive here? I cautiously approached a group of people who were gathered around a campfire. They all turned to look at me, their eyes filled with suspicion. I slowly raised my hands in a sign of surrender, hoping to show them that I meant no harm. Who are you? One of them asked, his hand hovering over his gun. My name is Jack, I replied, trying to sound as non-threatening as possible. The group exchanged looks before one of them spoke up. We don't usually trust strangers here, but you don't look like one of those crystal freaks. Come, sit by the fire. We can talk. I cautiously joined them by the fire, relieved that I had found a group of survivors who weren't trying to kill me on sight. They introduced themselves as the Last Hope Group, a fitting name for a group that had managed to survive in this harsh world. As we talked, I learned that the town was protected by a barrier made of a special crystal that repelled the zombies' attacks. It was their main defense against the crystal zombies, and it seemed to be working. They also had a scientist in their group who was trying to find a cure for the crystal virus. I couldn't believe it. A cure. I didn't even know that was possible. But these people had hope, something that was rare in this world. I decided to stay with them, at least for a while. I had nowhere else to go, and maybe I could help them in their search for a cure. Days turned into weeks, and I started to feel like I belonged with this group. They were like a family to me, and I was grateful to have found them. But one day, our peaceful existence was shattered when the crystal zombies attacked. They must have sensed the barrier weakening, and they were determined to break through it. The town was thrown into chaos as we fought to defend ourselves. But even with the barrier, we were outnumbered. As I fought alongside my new family, I saw something that gave me hope. The scientist had developed a serum that could reverse the effects of the crystals. He had been testing it on himself, and it seemed to be working. Without hesitation, I grabbed the serum and injected it into a crystal zombie that was about to attack one of our group members. To my amazement, the zombie's crystals started to recede, and it fell to the ground, no longer a threat. We quickly gathered all the crystal zombies we could find and injected them with the serum. It was a risky move, but it paid off. The crystal zombies were no longer a danger, and we were able to secure the town once again. Thanks to the scientist's serum, we were able to cure most of the crystal zombies in the town. And with the barrier still intact, we were able to live safely and peacefully. It was a small victory in this never-ending battle, but it gave us hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to end this zombie apocalypse for good. My name is Sarah, and I've been on the road for almost a year now. I used to have a normal life, a job, a home, a family. But then the outbreak happened. People started turning into mindless, flesh-eating zombies. It was chaos and I lost everything. I was lucky enough to make it out alive, but I knew I couldn't stay in one place for too long. The key to survival in this new world was to keep moving. So I packed up my belongings and hit the road. I stumbled upon an old food truck on one of my travels. It was abandoned, but still in good condition. I knew it was my ticket to survival. With some hard work and a little bit of luck, I managed to get the truck up and running again. I stocked it up with non-perishable food and supplies, and now I travel from town to town, selling whatever I can to the few survivors that are left. I've become somewhat of a legend in these parts. People call me the zombie food truck lady. I pull up to a deserted gas station and park my truck. I grab a box of canned goods and a few bottles of water and head inside. The place is empty, as expected. I quickly scan the shelves for anything useful and grab a few more supplies. As I'm about to leave, I hear a noise coming from the back of the store. I cautiously make my way towards the sound, my hand gripping the knife tucked into my belt. I find a young man, no older than 20, rummaging through the shelves. He turns around and sees me, his eyes wide with fear. Please don't hurt me. He pleads. I lower my knife and give him a warm smile. Don't worry, I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm just looking for supplies. He visibly relaxes and starts to introduce himself. My name is Max. I've been on my own for a few weeks now. I ran out of food and water, and I was hoping to find something here. I nod and hand him a bottle of water. You're in luck. I have plenty of supplies in my truck. Come with me, I can give you a ride to the next town. Max's eyes light up with hope. Thank you so much. I was starting to lose hope. As we make our way to the truck, Max starts to ask me questions about my travels and how I've managed to survive on my own. I tell him my story, and he listens intently, hanging on to every word. Once we reach the truck, I open up the back and show him the array of goods I have. He helps me load up the truck, and we hit the road. As we drive, Max continues to ask me questions, but this time, it's about the truck. He's amazed at how I managed to get it running again, and how I turned it into a mobile food truck. I've always wanted to own a food truck, he says wistfully. I used to work at a restaurant before all of this happened. I love cooking and serving people. A light bulb goes off in my head. Well, you're in luck. I could use some help running this truck. And it looks like you have some cooking skills. How about we become partners? Max's face lights up with excitement. Are you serious? That would be amazing. And just like that, I have a new partner in this crazy world. We travel together, selling our goods and cooking up meals for the few survivors we come across. Max is a natural at cooking, and together, we come up with creative ways to use the limited ingredients we have. Our food truck becomes a beacon of hope for the survivors, a reminder that there is still some semblance of normalcy left in this world. As we continue to travel, we encounter many dangers and challenges. But with each other by our side, we manage to overcome them. We become more than just partners, we become a family. I never imagined that a food truck would become my lifeline in this zombie apocalypse. But in a strange way, it has brought me closer to people and given me a purpose in this chaotic world. And as long as we have our trusty food truck, Max and I will continue to survive and thrive in this new reality. My name is Riley, and I am currently stuck in a fast food restaurant in the midst of a zombie apocalypse. How did I end up here, you ask? Well, let's just say I made a few wrong turns while trying to escape the chaos. It all started a month ago when the first reports of a strange virus began to surface. At first, no one took it seriously. I mean, how could a virus turn people into mindless, flesh-eating creatures? It sounded like something straight out of a horror movie. But as the days went by, the virus spread like wildfire, and soon enough, it was everywhere. I remember the day it all went down. I was at work flipping burgers and taking orders at this very same fast food joint. It was a typical day, nothing out of the ordinary. That is, until a group of people burst in, screaming and covered in blood. They were being chased by a horde of zombies, and before I knew it, the restaurant was under attack. I managed to escape through the back door and ran as fast as I could, not looking back. I didn't know where to go, but I knew I had to keep moving. The streets were chaos, with people running in every direction and the sound of gunshots and screams filling the air. I eventually found my way to a nearby mall, hoping to find shelter and maybe even some supplies. But the mall was no safe haven. It was crawling with zombies, and the few survivors that were left were holed up in different stores, trying to barricade themselves in. I stumbled upon this fast food joint again and decided to take refuge inside. It was a temporary solution, but at least I had some food and a roof over my head. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself getting used to this new way of life. I had become a pro at fortifying the restaurant and fending off any zombies that tried to break in. I even managed to make friends with a few other survivors who were also stuck in the mall. We would spend our days exploring the deserted stores and scavenging for supplies. But the one thing that kept me going was talking. I talked a lot. I talked to myself, to my friends, to the zombies even, though they couldn't understand me. It helped me stay sane in this crazy world. And I also talked about my dreams. Dreams of getting out of this place and finding a safe haven. Dreams of finding a cure for this virus and bringing the world back to normal. Dreams of a future where fast food restaurants weren't the only source of food. But as the days went by, those dreams started to fade. The reality of our situation hit me hard. We were stuck in this mall, surrounded by zombies and with no way out. It seemed like the world had ended and we were the only ones left. But then, one day, something miraculous happened. A group of soldiers arrived at the mall claiming to have a safe zone set up outside the city. They were looking for survivors and offering to take us there. I couldn't believe it. It was like a dream come true. We quickly packed our bags and followed the soldiers out of the mall. It was a dangerous journey, with zombies lurking around every corner. But the soldiers were well equipped and we managed to make it to the safe zone without any casualties. And let me tell you, it was like paradise. There were walls, guards, and even a functioning government. It was a stark contrast to the chaos we had been living in for the past month. I couldn't believe that this was actually happening. But the best part was, there was no more talking to myself. I had real people to talk to now. People who understood and shared my experiences. We would sit around the bonfire at night, sharing our stories and talking about our dreams for the future. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged. The zombie apocalypse may have taken away everything I knew and loved, but it also brought me to a new family. And as we sat there, laughing and talking, I realized that sometimes, the most unexpected things can bring people together.